Well, good morning. Let's go ahead and get started because we have a lot to go through. The most exciting part is Bruce is setting up outside. He has a course set up for us out there, and he's going to be taking us through the last section. So our session is called The Pumper Car, the Perfect Vehicle for Improving Fitness and Fun in an Adapted or General PE Setting. And first of all, I want to thank you for allowing us to talk about a product that we believe a lot in. I want to be the first one to admit that you know a lot more than I do when it comes to adapted PE. And so I want to thank you for letting us be here. Thank you for sharing our story. So when I say the perfect vehicle, I know that's a pretty high bar. And hopefully by the time you have a chance to spend some time with us today, you'll realize that it could be a vehicle that would fit in really well with what you're going to do. And I'm going to be going fairly quickly, going through a lot of information because the best way to get to know it is to write it, try it, and to talk with Bruce. Brief history about the pumper car. We're going to go over that. We're going to talk about a University of Michigan study, and I do have handouts on that we'll give out. We're going to be talking about short bursts of exercise, and then at the end, we're going to be talking about practical applications for the pumper car. So who is this guy and why is he here? I attended the University of Oregon, and I was an All-American in track and field there. I won, back in the 70s, I won the Pac-10 championship. But more importantly, I took therapeutic recreation while I was there, and I got a Bachelor of Science degree. And since that time in 1979, I've done media work and everything, and I just love how things have come full circle, and now I'm again working with therapeutic areas. I can still remember one of the classes that we took. We went out into a field and we had to pick a disability. We either had to put on, become blind or couldn't hear, or couldn't talk, or we had to hop around on one leg, or we had to, put both arms behind our backs and have them strapped. And then we would do different exercises. We would play games and everything like that. And it was really my first exposure to this wonderful world. And then I worked for Nike for 5 years. And I work with a lot of different schools, giving out running shoes to junior highs, high schools, a lot of engagement there with youth. And then I coached track and field for a couple years while I was back in Erie, Pennsylvania, working with youth. Probably the most important thing, though, when it comes to this company is I'm their media director and producer. Several years ago, we went to they had come up with this concept design for this riding toy that pushed and pulled. And so we took it to an elementary school. And we let some kids ride on it during recess, and we set up some obstacles for them, some cones and some different things. We let them ride it on the grass, on the asphalt, and the bottom line was the kids loved it. They were standing in line all day long riding it, and I thought, this is a really unique device. So they came out with the early version that you see here. And they ended up winning the Industrial Designer Society of America IDEA award. And the criteria for that was innovation, benefit to user, responsibility, visual appeal, design research, and design strategy. So it originally came out as a toy, and so we got it into stores, and the challenge was it was actually overbuilt, and it was a little too pricey for parents that were just wanting to buy a big wheel or something like that for $79 that would last maybe 6 or 9 months. So kids were riding it across America. In the meantime, slowly we started getting these letters coming in from different hospitals, and this is one from Duke Children's Hospital. I'm writing to describe the importance of the power pumper as a treatment tool at Lenox Baker Children's Hospital. They are in use daily, Monday through Friday, 8 to 6 p.m., approximately 15 times a day. It provides benefits that other equipment does not, such as stability for children who experience postural instability, a rhythmic timing pattern, and an aerobic workout. Many parents have indicated they would be willing to have one to continue a child's goals as part of a home program. Another one came in, all children's hospitals. I'm writing to tell you how important the power pumper is in the treatment of children at all children's hospital. It is most commonly used for children with these diagnoses: cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, sensory motor dysfunction, developmental delay, traumatic brain injury, and brachial plexus injury. We have found that the pumper car is very effective in working with children to increase their strength, endurance, motor planning, use of bilateral upper and lower extremities, and coordination. How many of you had a chance to ride the pumper car? Okay, a couple of them. Okay. Pretty good workout, upper and lower body, I know. Got the heart rate up on a few people. And before I forget, spirit systems over here. with Adidas. After we finish this and we transition into riding it, if 7 of you would like to actually have your heart rate monitored, he has 7 of these that we can set up, and you can see the increase with your heart rate as you ride the pumper car. So we'll do that during the transition. Another one that came in, Kennedy Krager Institute. Children are experiencing movement when using the power pumper, and movement leads to learning about space and directionality. And the children learn to plan and move both their arms and legs in a coordinated way. It can be used with most children with varying diagnoses and conditions that affect muscle strength, coordination, endurance, motor planning, visual, spatial, and other sensory concerns. It is a practical, fun, safe, and reinforces therapy. We got some more letters, and we got some more letters, and we got some more letters. And finally, we just were in our office kind of going, what's up with this? We just couldn't really believe it. So along the way, we were introduced to this very unique world that we had really never been involved with, adapted physical education. And I'll be honest and say, I think a few years ago I said adaptive. Yeah, I know that was wrong. But so we were introduced to this world of adapted physical education, and they were actually using them, unbeknownst to us again, in their schools in a variety of different ways. So we had a chance to go to 2 different schools, and I'm going to let them tell a little bit about it. And I want you to watch for a girl named Kathy about halfway through, and she's really one of the reasons for some of the passion that we have.
Well, the whole purpose of our program is to get kids involved with large muscle coordination. And so, the benefit of the power pumper to me and how I like to use it is to warm up those large muscle groups. The pulling with the arms and hands, the pushing with the legs, the core strength that's involved with doing that in the midsection. It's a great way for kids to feel large muscle coordination with guidance. They're manipulating the handlebars and the foot pegs. They're powering it themselves.
We have one child, Kathy. I think you might have seen her. And here she comes right behind here. There's Kathy. Good job, Kathy. Kathy doesn't quite put her feet on it and do it back and forth like this just yet. But a really big breakthrough was actually having her get on the scooter. And this riding is phenomenal because she's pretty tentative about things. And I think she feels real successful with this. It's been about 2 weeks that she's been riding these with the other kids. Usually we'd have to get a different activity for her. And this is a big breakthrough.
Yeah, they don't know they're getting a workout. But the beauty of them is just there's not that many opportunities for most of these kids to have a riding toy that they can use in their community or here at school even. And we have kids at every level of learning how to use these. We have some that just get on and they know. They've never been on a riding toy before, but they get on the power pumper and they know how to go. And it's amazing to watch that.
They can't fall off it, so it's something that it's good for their self-esteem that they're riding a bike. A lot of these kids can't ride a 2-wheel bike. My children can't, and this is something where they can do, and they feel encouraged and that they're doing a good job.
So you'll notice the last little guy that was riding it with no direction at all. Partway through, he went from rowing like this to switching and rowing like this, and without him knowing it, he actually ended up working a totally different set of muscles. So people started talking about it. We started going to events like this, and as many of you have ridden it, we had a lot of different NAEYC, Shape America, and we had different people riding it. We've gone to special events. I love this little gal here. She could only go about 3 inches at a time in it, and she had never been able to. She has Down syndrome, and she had never been able to ride any other vehicle, and she's got her little princess crown on. And she was like able to go this far every time, but for her, it was like she went around the track, and she just had a great time. So we started seeing this 3-way relationship with adapted physical education, occupational and physical therapy, and home use. And it was one particular product that we would see it used in each one of those environments. And in a few instances, we actually had situations where either they would coordinate and take one home so they would have it, or they would actually buy one for their home use, and it would build upon what they were learning in their occupational therapy and physical therapy. So this next segment is a little guy, Owen, and he was going to therapy for speech.
I think it gives him confidence and it allows him to complete his therapy session successfully.
Scoot, 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 scoot. It's been a really big help for Owen because first and foremost, it has become a source of confidence for him. When he first came in to see me, he was not willing to attempt anything novel, basically. I'd ask him to try something. No, I can't do it. You know, anything and everything. He was emotionally unstable.
And he doesn't have a lot of control over therapy sessions. You know, he's usually being told what to do and he has to do it. And this gives him the ability to grab that confidence and skill right away. And then seems to carry through the entire session for him.
We found that we had about a 20-minute window right after the power pumper where he was just incredibly regulated, incredibly focused, ready to just sit down and work with me. He stutters and he has problems with fluency. And so we found that when doing this kind of rhythmic gross motor activity, it increased his fluency, decreased his stuttering, and he was able to kind of work on some of the language issues that he's been working on with more ease.
Oh yeah, I would really recommend it, especially for kids that have sensory problems, like Owen does, sensory integration issues. He needs that physical outlet to be able to complete his therapy. Good.
So that's Owen. But the one thing we didn't have any research. We had these awesome letters from hospitals, from teachers, from therapy centers, but when somebody say, you know, has anybody done any research on it? Do you have any data at all? We didn't have that. We didn't have any stats, modeling, or anything like that. So, you know, we just feel that things have come along at the right time for the company, to why we're here today. So back in 2015, going into early part of 16, University of Michigan said, no independent research has been conducted to corroborate these reports or determine if the device promotes current physical activity guidelines. The primary purpose of this feasibility study was to test whether providing the opportunity for unstructured group exercise using the power pumper would result in meaningful increases in physical activity, intensity, and heart rate in young children with Down syndrome compared to their peer mentors without Down syndrome. The research study was funded by the Jerome Lejeune Foundation in Paris, France. In 1959, he was a doctor that discovered Down syndrome. What's the study about? It's the effects of a physical activity intervention in children with Down syndrome. Why is it important? It highlights how new devices, motivating environments, and peer modeling can influence the level of physical activity in children with Down syndrome. So you might recognize a couple of these different names, Janet Hauk and Dale Ulrich. They were the ones. Janet has 18 articles including the levels of physical activity and motor skills in young children with and without autism spectrum disorders, age 2 to 5. And then Dale, which I understand a lot of people know, he's written 20 articles including the relationship of motor skills and adaptive behavior skills in young children with autism and spectrum disorders. So the method, 24 children aged 5 to 7 years old participated in this case control study, including 12 with and 12 without. Those with Down syndrome participated in an age-matched controls. So they did two 30-minute sessions. A 30-minute unstructured PA session utilizing the pumper car was provided to both groups on 2 occasions. Heart rate and PA were measured at baseline during both sessions. During each session, the pumper car was ridden in a large indoor gymnasium. Simple motivating objects were available, such as traffic cones, polyspots, and foam bowling pins. Children utilize these objects in a variety of ways. Some use the objects as racetrack markers or to create games, while others paid little attention to these objects. The method, the researchers encouraged participants to remain on the pumper car and only minimal redirection was required. Accelerometers were returned at the end of each 30-minute session, and the data were downloaded. Activity data from both 30-minute sessions were combined to represent 60 total minutes of activity for subsequent data analysis. Data were combined to represent 60 minutes to better compare values. So here's the case study, and for those that came today, I do have copies of it you can take. So if you'd like, I could just kind of go through this and read it word for word. Outcome measures, and we got another page 5. There's page 6, discussion. It's got the conclusion, got some pretty cool graphs over there and everything. I don't know how much time we have here today, but I'll go through some of this, and then maybe we'll... oh, okay, yeah, so, all right, we won't do that. We'll just hit the highlights. Okay, in terms of evaluating the differences in minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity from baseline to exercise, there were statistically significant differences within the groups. So for children with Down syndrome, the mean moderate to vigorous physical activity per hour was significantly increased from baseline to exercise by 14.2 minutes, a little over 180%. What surprised us, though, was for children with traditional typical development, meaning MVPA per hour was significantly increased from baseline to exercise by 29.4 minutes. So based on the conclusion, based on the results of this initial investigation, therapists and educators should feel confident that the power pumper provides an excellent method to safely increase PA in children aged 5 to 7 who have Down syndrome, especially when performed in an inclusive setting. And like I say, I've got copies of that for everybody. So we've had an opportunity to meet some amazing children, and they're really glad that we have the pumper car available for them. This little guy here, he'd never seen the pumper car before, so we just had one set out for them to go experience. So he drug it out into the middle of the grass, and he started wrestling with it. And he got on it, and he rolled it over on top of him, and he rolled off of it, and it was upside down, and he just kind of came and looked at it like that for a little bit, and then got back over and rolled around on it a little bit again, and then finally his therapist, she, which a lot of them do, she sat on it, and he sat on her lap, and she helped him see what it was like. And then the next thing he did was he pushed her on it. She was on it, and he pushed him from the back. And within about 45 minutes, he was riding all over the place. This is Phoenix here, and her mom was there, and she really hadn't been able to ride any kind of device before. So we started seeing this correlation between adaptive PE, occupational therapists, and physical therapists. And here's a little guy that we just taped a few weeks ago, and this is a hospital that has been using the power pumper for several years, and they liked it so much that when they rebuilt their therapeutic area, they actually had the designers in the tile floor create a track just for the size of the pumper car. So you're going to see this segment here.
Okay, and make sure you pull really hard with your hands and push really hard with your feet. So we get both. On your mark, get set, go! Pull! Pull! Oh, good driving! Don't crash. All the way around. And stop. Good job. So we're working a lot on arm strength and leg strength. So he's getting a good bicep curl and shoulder retraction, but at the same time, he's getting knee extension and his quads are engaged. We also work a lot on Colin's range of motion, so his ankles are in a good position. And he's able to engage his glutes at the same time. So it's nice that he gets a full body workout along with trunk, arms, and legs. Some of the things we're working on is getting up from a super low surface, and that requires quite a bit of glute and hand and quadricep strength. I think OT's been working a lot on arm strength, doing things like push-ups and stuff like that as well. So it's been really nice. And the other big thing with Colin that we work on is endurance, because he gets tired pretty fast.
So short bursts of hard exercise. A new study has found that short bursts of intensive exercise boosts children's brain power and has benefits for children with learning difficulties or conditions such as autism. The U.S. Autism and Asperger's Association had their national world convention in Portland, Oregon in August, and there was a keynote speaker there, and you might recognize her. She's written a bunch of books on autism. I think there was a movie made about her that Claire Dane played in, and so she stopped by our booth, and you're going to see her on the pumper car for the first time, and you're going to see her go from a 69 or 70-year-old lady to a teenager in about 6 seconds when I say really, really push. And then steer with your arm. Can you steer? Reach way out there. Reach really far. There you go. Now the brake's on your left.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. So it was really fun. She came over, and Jamie, who's here with us, she had us write this down, and she made sure we capitalized fun. And she said the pumper car is a fun way to get a hard burst or a burst of hard exercise. And I know because I've tried it. And by the way, that's if you go to pumpercar.com, you can find out information, and she's on there as well. But she says, I don't endorse any products. But you can write that down and say I said it. So I asked her, I said, well, tell me about short bursts of hard exercise. And if you've ever been around Dr. Temple Grandin, she's like very focused, and you got like 20 seconds to get your point in, and then she's off onto something else because she thinks in pictures. And she just says boom, 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 and you just got to be right there with her. And so I said, well, tell me about that. And she said, Google it. So I did. So I Googled, in quotes, short bursts of hard exercise. And what I found were just pages upon pages upon pages about short bursts of hard exercise. And short, intense bursts of exercise, and what I was really interested in how it related to children. And short, intense bursts of exercise will help boost a child's brain power, revealing a first study of its kind out of New Zealand, Auckland. Google it. High-intensive interval training. So HIIT boosted cognitive skills in youngsters more than moderate activity, involves short bursts of high-intensity effort, then brief low-intensity activity. Research shows it improves short-term memory and cognitive control, and it can particularly help children with weaker heart health or mental challenges. So we're going to transition here in just a second, but one of the things we like about it is we know you just have a certain amount of time with these children. And we know your time is precious and you want to maximize that time. And what we've found is that the pumper car can be just one more tool to use in your wheelhouse. It can be a part of one of your stations that you have. And there's a National Adaptive PE Teacher of the Year for 2016 that lives in Beaverton. And he had a 9-year-old boy that was nonverbal, very high on the autism spectrum. And they were ready to basically call the parents and say, hey, you're going to have to come and get your kid. This isn't working. He's distracted. So Jamie, who was a former school teacher, she introduced him to the pumper car. He took one to his school, just set it over in the corner, and this little guy worked his way over to it. And 10 minutes later, he came back. He was sweaty, he was regulated, and he was ready to focus. And they've been using it now for that period of time. So we want to know that, or we want to help you have one more tool to have in your wheelhouse. I was listening to a session yesterday a little bit, and it was a really, really good session, but there was just something that kind of caught me a little bit, and that was about that they were talking about children with in wheelchairs. And that basically, if you have a children in wheelchairs in your adaptive PE, there's 3 things you can do with them. And one is just to let them wheel themselves in. The second thing is you can move them around and let them do different things. Or the third thing is take them out of the wheelchair and try to engage them in something. But basically, he really didn't feel comfortable in doing that, and so he really never tried to apply that principle. So we want to introduce you to a little girl by the name of Maddie.
Here comes Madeline. All right. All right, Madeline, you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, can you show off with your brakes? Put your brakes on. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to try to get behind you, Madeline.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since she's gotten to ride a, what do you call it, a vehicle. Or other than, it was a tricycle when she was little with adaptive pedals so, and a back. So she's secure and she's independent.
Maddie, keep going. You're doing great.
I know that she's excited about that. Because I think she knows her situation. But that's why she's so excited to come here every Wednesday to get to ride on it. And lately, that's all she's wanted to do at therapy. It's a really great workout for her.
All right. There she
Right
goes.
there.
Woo! Maddie, turn it, Maddie. Push hard. Push good, Maddie. Nice. You say when you need a break.
I don't need one.
You don't need one? What? I really like this for you because it really helps you build all your upper body strength. And I really like how she gets range of motion in her legs, and it's building her coordination. She has to turn and maneuver it, and she just works harder with it than when she's working on just straight exercise. It gets a little boring, just,
It's fun.
Yeah, so what do you see and what do you like about this?
It's the first thing I've seen lately that she can use.
Yeah.
And that's fun. It's not, there's no extra equipment, that's needed. And like you said, it helps with her arms and her legs.
It gives her a lot of mobility to and the freedom to go,
and she's independent while she's on it.
It's great to see her so happy and having fun while she's getting a workout with her arms and legs. So I love it for all those reasons.
I do too. I think it should be in all the SIS classes.
Oh, okay. All the
Yeah.
classrooms at school, you'd like to see
Yeah.
it there?
I mean, maybe not high school, but I mean the young, your elementary.
Turn a little bit, Maddie. Yeah.
Even middle school, because they have kids that are, they would enjoy it. A lot of them she doesn't get to ride a bike.
She's gotten a lot faster on it, so I know she's built a lot of coordination and strength.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
It would be a benefit for SIS classes to have it. And every pediatric therapy office. I don't know if they do or not, but I think it would be beneficial. Especially, I know she's got a few in her, this therapy here that have very physical needs like she does. And I think they all end up loving to ride the car.